Hello, YouTube community. It's Robert S., and welcome to my channel, RobScure Music, where I hope to introduce you or reacquaint you with lesser-known artists and or albums that are out there in the musical universe. So today I want to talk about Nanci Griffith. Nanci was born in Texas in 1953, and she moved to Nashville, Tennessee in 1985. She is a country folk singer-songwriter. She described her music as folkabilly, but personally, when I hear that, I think in terms of bluegrass, hillbilly. Maybe I'm justly like hee-haw, if you will, and I think that really does her a disservice in a way, because it doesn't really speak to the majesty of her songwriting, and she is a magnificent songwriter. She has played with numerous country artists, Willie Nelson. She's played with Emmylou Harris, John Prine. Actually, she's done duets with Jimmy Buffett, Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish, Adam Duritz of Counting Crows, as well as others. And she has a little bit of a twangy, I don't want to say nasally, but it's a voice that could at times not necessarily appeal to everybody. But again, I think that her songwriting and the phrasing and the inflection in her songs, it just makes it really special. So she had released 17 albums and 2 live albums from 1978 to 2012, and she was on the MCA label, actually on the country side of the label. And she released a couple albums. They were good albums, but nothing that I think is particularly outstanding. And it wasn't until she moved to the pop record side, the pop label at MCA in LA, that she really hit her stride. And that move was around the time that she had moved to Nashville. And in 1986, she released an album called Last of the True Believers, and that's a fantastic album. And from 86 through her 1991 album, Late Night Grand Hotel, I believe she released, that was the pinnacle of her career, in my opinion. She released some of her best work, and some of the best work, I think, of anyone in that genre. Really, really incredible stuff. And in 1994, she actually left MCA. She went to Elektra Records and released an album called Other Voices, Other Rooms. And this was an album that included basically her cover versions of songs that were performed or written by her own idols. And that album actually did very well and earned her a Grammy in 1994 for the Best Contemporary Country Artist. No, contemporary, not country, folk album. And getting back to the MCA years, and those years, 1986 to 91, when I feel like she did her best. The album I want to actually talk about today is a compilation called Nanci Griffith, The MCA Years, a Retrospective. And this actually includes the songs from that period, 1986 to 91. in addition to one song that was on her debut album in 1978. And I'll show you the back and the track listing. There are, 18 songs on this album, again, from 1986 to 1991. And I just want to talk a little bit about some of these songs. The first one, Trouble in the Fields. This is and most of these songs, by the way, were written by her. I believe there are only 2 that were not on this album. But getting back to that first song, Trouble in the Fields, this is a song that really speaks about the troubles that farmers faced in the Great Depression of 1929 and the Dust Bowl days of the 1930s. Done very, very well, and great way to sort of start the album. But every song on here is fantastic. Next song, From a Distance. I'm sure many of you will recognize that title. And yes, this is the Julie Gold song that Bette Midler made famous in 1990, which was 3 years after Nanci Griffith had it on her album. Nanci did it first. Nanci does it in a less pop style, if you will. I love Bette Midler, and I think she did a fantastic job with it. But Nanci's got my vote on this one. And then there's a song called I Don't Want to Talk About Love. And this is basically a song about, sort of a housewife wanting to escape her life, if you will. And that's sort of a recurring theme in some of Nanci's songs on this album and on many of her albums generally. And she actually did get married and divorced. And I think, this was somewhat autobiographical. The next song on here, Deadwood, South Dakota, was actually written by her ex-husband, Eric Taylor. And this is a song that sort of harkens back to the days of, European settlers coming in and working their way west. It's a story song, if you will, that takes place in a saloon in South Dakota. And it sort of touches upon, the white man's feelings about Indians. It talks about, killing, Indians and so on. And there's, an Indian boy who's sweeping the floors in the saloon and so on. Good song, but again, it's, talks about the white man, being somewhat, vicious, if you will, to the Native Americans. And I will say that Nanci is very political, was, unfortunately, she passed away in August 21, fairly recently. But she was somewhat political, but you find that while there may be some political leanings in these songs, there's nothing that I think anyone really who has different political views would find objectionable at all. Having said that, next song, Love at the Five and Dime. What a fantastic song this is. The imagery in here, it's basically, and also the version on here is a live version in which she does an introduction where she speaks about the song. It's very interesting. It's a great way to introduce the song, and she gets into it, and it's basically a love story, if you will, about a clerk, a store clerk named Rita, and her boyfriend, who is a steel guitar player, and his name is Eddie. And Eddie and Rita hang out in Woolworth, where she works, and they dance in the aisles, and it's love, and they grow up together. They get married, but they hit some rough spots in their life, and eventually, they grow older, and Eddie becomes an insurance salesman, and Rita is selling dime store novels. Very touching, beautiful song. Kudos to Nanci. Let's see. Next one, Listen to the Radio. Again, good song. There are a lot of songs in here, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Gulf Coast Highway, next song after that. Again, beautiful song. This, I think, is one of her best love songs, and it's exquisite. It really is. I mean, this is a song about a Texas couple that is growing old together. She makes reference to the bluebonnet, which is the state flower of Texas. And as a matter of fact, I should probably read some of the lyrics in here because, again, she's just a fantastic songwriter. Let me see. Let's see if I can find them now. Here. Okay, she's singing about Gulf Coast Highway. He worked the rails. He worked the rice fields with their cool, dark wells. He worked the oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, the only thing we've ever known in this old house here by the road. And when he dies, he says he'll catch some bluebird's wing. Then he will fly away to heaven on some sweet bluebonnet spring. Very small writing. These eyes are old. I have trouble reading them. But anyway, moving on. Great song. Next one is, let's see, I Wish It Would Rain. Great song. Ford Econoline. For those of you who don't know, Ford Econoline is a full-size van that Ford produced back in the 1960s. And this is a song, again, speaking to that sort of, housewife wanting to get away. But in this case, it's about a woman who's a country folk singer. And she basically, escapes her husband and hits the highway in her Ford Econoline. Great song, more upbeat, more country-ish. It's got that sort of, hillbilly feel, if you will. Great song, though. So Long Ago, If Wishes Were Changes, The Wing and the Wheel, great song. Again, the wing and the wheel, they carry things away, she sings. It's all wonderful songs. Next one, Late Night Grand Hotel, one of my favorites on here. And I'll hold that up again. And this is a Late Night Grand Hotel is a very moving song. Again, it's a song about sort of loneliness and that feeling empty in your life, if you will. And the studio version is a bit of more of a power ballad, but if you see a live performance, and if you go on YouTube and search out Nanci Griffith and search out some of these songs, if you look for Late Night Grand Hotel and you see her doing it live, it's a very moving, more intimate performance. But again, I'll read you just some of the lyrics here. It starts out saying, "I'm working on a morning flight to anywhere but here. I'm watching this evening fire burn away my tears. All my life I've left my troubles by the door. Leaving is all I've ever known before." And then the chorus, It's not the way you hold me when the sun goes down. It's not the way you call my name that left me stranded on the ground. It's not the way you say you have my heart when the music ends. Excuse me, you hear my heart when the music ends. I am just learning how to fly away again. And maybe you were thinking that you thought you knew me well, but no one ever knows the heart of anyone else. I feel like Garbo in this late night Grand Hotel, 'cause living alone is all I've ever done well. Beautiful, beautiful songwriting, in my opinion. Next song, It's Just Another Morning Here. And then there's a song called Drive-In Movies and Dashboard Lights. And this is a song about basically, back in the, let's say the 50s, when, there was very little expectations for girls growing up. The feeling was that, if you were pretty, that's all that mattered. So this really is a song basically about, this young woman who's growing up and is basically told, you've got your beauty and that's really all you need. And her life is just, driving movies and dashboard lights and having a good time. And she's not really, she has no sort of future, no promise. But then, of course, as she ages and suddenly she's divorced, unloved, her beauty is gone, and she really has nothing left. Then we get to a song, There's a Light Beyond These Woods, and in parentheses, Mary Margaret. This is the song I was saying is from her debut album. This is one of the first songs that she wrote. And this is a song where she sort of looks back on those childhood friendships that you form, that you form for a lifetime, basically. And she's singing about her friend Mary Margaret and how the two of them would, look for that light beyond the woods, look to, escape out into this big, beautiful world and all the adventures that would await them. And in this song, she actually not only references her friend, obviously Mary Margaret, whose name is all over this, but she actually makes reference to her then boyfriend John, who was killed in a motorcycle accident after he took her to the senior prom. So, again, very, very touching song. Then we have Outward Plain, and the last song on here is called It's a Hard Life Wherever You Go. And this, again, is a very, sort of political statement, if you will. It's a song that basically links racism in America with the religious tensions that in Ireland. And I should also say that Nanci became pretty popular in Ireland, more so or earlier than she did here in the States. And so she sings this song, and again, it's, lyrically, it's a very powerful song. She's basically, and I'll read the lyrics again. I'm a backseat driver from America. They drive to the left on Falls Road. The man at the wheel's name is Seamus. We pass a child on the corner he knows. And Seamus says, now what chance does that kid have? And I say from the back, I don't know. He says, there's barbed wire at all of these exits, and there ain't no place in Belfast for that kid to go. And the chorus is, it's a hard life, it's a hard life, it's a very hard life. It's a hard life wherever you go. If we poison our children with hatred, then the hard life is all that they'll know. and there's no place in Belfast for that kid to go, for these kids to go. Next verse is, a cafeteria line in Chicago. The fat man in front of me is calling black people children to, is calling black people trash to his children. He's the only trash here I see. And I'm thinking this man wears a white hood in the night when his children should sleep. But they slip to their window and they see him, and they think that white hood's all they need. Then goes into the chorus again. It's a hard life, it's a hard life, it's a very hard life. It's a hard life wherever you go. If we poison our children with hatred, then the hard life is all that they'll know. And there ain't no place in Chicago for those kids to go. And it goes on. But again, fantastic compilation. Check this out. She has several other compilations. Another good one is this one, Nanci Griffith. From a Distance, the very best of Nanci Griffith. Check out these compilations. I think you'll enjoy what you hear. If you enjoy folk music, if you enjoy singer-songwriters, you will enjoy this. And if you enjoy what's on her compilations, please delve deeper into her albums. There are other fantastic songs. And honestly, I think that more people should be aware of her. More people should appreciate her. Nanci Griffith will always have a place in my music collection and always have a special place in my heart. So that's it for today. Stay well, and remember, if the music strikes a chord, let it play.